Registering to find out the top 7 mistakes that upsizers commonly make. We're the Stein and Warsh real estate team run by myself, Mitchell Stein, and Jordan Warsh. The number one mistake that we see upsizers make is overlooking up and coming neighborhoods. We find that upsizers traditionally have areas in their head that might be very well recognizable or super affluent neighborhoods that they gravitate towards. For instance, if you're looking at central Toronto, maybe you're going to be very focused on Forest Hill or Yonge and Eglinton. And conversely, if you're looking out on the East End, maybe you're focusing in on the beaches because you know these are phenomenal areas. And they are great neighborhoods, but one of the common themes that we find is that the prices have grown super, super high in these areas, and buyers either get discouraged because they don't like the pricing in these neighborhoods, or maybe they're able to get into these neighborhoods, but it's not the house that they want. Maybe it's too small, maybe it's not renovated enough. But if you actually look at up and coming neighborhoods that are only a couple minutes around the corner, you're often able to save between 15 and 20%. And quite often, you can get a much larger house. You're able to live a very, very similar lifestyle. Or it might be a house that, is completely renovated versus a house that needs a little bit of love. So don't be afraid of up and coming neighborhoods. You'd be shocked how much value you can find in these neighborhoods and how similar your quality of life will actually be.
You are an upsizer, and what should you do? Should you buy a home first, or should you sell your home first? Well, that totally depends on the market that we are in. If you're in a hot market and you feel confident that you're going to be able to sell your property for top dollar fairly quickly, it may be advantageous for you to buy first. The reason being is because when you're buying, there's going to be a lot of bidding wars, there's going to be a lot of competition on the buy side. And once you secure that sale, you are going to be then confident that you could sell your home for the price that you want. And that could be a really, really great strategy. On the other hand, if the market's slow and the market's struggling, that strategy may not be the right fit for you. And you most likely would want to mitigate your risk and sell first. The reason being is in a slow market, it may take your house longer to sell. There may be more days on market, and you may be fighting longer for the price that you want. And you'd rather know what money you have in your pocket before you then switch hats and try to buy something. The third mistake we see upsizers make is that they're afraid of some homes that need small reno projects. Sure, every single person wants that turnkey property that has everything done for them. The problem is that these typically go for top dollar and there's way more competition. What if, though, you walked into a home with a realtor that knew it had great bones, that over time needed some new flooring, maybe needed updates to the washrooms or to the kitchen, but these were projects that you could do over time, that the house was livable? Well, these homes are typically overlooked and underappreciated, have less competition on them, but are an amazing, amazing asset that you can add much more value to over time. This is where we come in. This is where we can help you and where we find our clients incredible value.
That we see upsizers commonly make is neglecting their current home or condo that they have to sell when they upsize. It's super easy to get very excited about the fact that you're moving into a brand new space, and change can be super fun, but ultimately it's really important not to neglect your current condo, because if you have to sell that before you move into your new home, you want to make sure that you get top dollar. So little things like having a fresh coat of paint, making sure that if there's general maintenance around the house that needs to be done, it gets done, or even just doing an upgrade to appliances can go a long way. And it's extremely important to make sure that you're able to sell your current space before you move into your new space, and making sure that it's not neglected and that everything's kept well will make sure that buyers entering your space love it just as much as you did when you purchased it. The mistake that we see upsizers make is miscalculating spatial requirements. When you enter a home and you're looking at upsizing, just because the space fits today, it's really important to think about how long you're going to spend in the space and how much you're going to be able to grow into it. Is there going to be enough storage down the road? Are there enough bedrooms? And usually when people do upsize, they plan to stay for at least 5 to 10 years. So it's really important not to miscalculate how much space you're going to need down the road. At the end of the day, you don't have a crystal ball, but it is really good to think ahead a little bit. And sometimes people can get shiny object syndrome, where they see a beautifully well done kitchen and a spa-like bathroom, And maybe that overlooks the fact that the house is actually a little too small for them, or maybe it won't fit their growing family's needs down the line. So, really important to pay attention to how you can actually grow into the space and not just what it looks like today. Mistake that we see upsizers make is trying to save for the biggest and best home on the street. While it's extremely important to make sure that you and your family love the home that you're moving into and that you'll be able to grow in the home and stay there for many years, you don't want to be on a never ending hamster wheel where you're always trying to save up for the biggest and best property, while that property might go up in value and you end up at a net neutral. Not every single year will you see the real estate market appreciate, but generally speaking, there is long term appreciation. Even if it's a couple percent a year on the low end, a couple percent on a very expensive asset that's between $1 million or $2 million is still tens of thousands of dollars per year. So even if you're saving up an extra $25,000 per year, that same house might be $25,000 more expensive next year, and you end up being at a net neutral position, and you run the risk of always just kind of being on this never-ending hamster wheel, and you're not able to get into a home that you love because of it. Understanding the difference in upkeep and expenses between a condo and a house is the seventh most common mistake that we see upsizers make. Condos are extremely predictable. They have monthly maintenance fees, utilities, property taxes, and a mortgage. Houses are really unpredictable. You might not have a monthly expense like a maintenance fee, but you don't know when you're going to have to do upkeep. Whether it's small little waterproofing around a basement or whether it's replacing an entire roof, it's really important to understand, based on the age of a property, when maintenance and what maintenance needs to be done. And a lot of this can actually be found in a home inspection, which is critical to review before purchasing a property. But it's also important to think about small services like landscaping and snow removal. And if you can plan these expenses and kind of understand how much you'll have to spend and when you'll have to spend it, it'll reduce the amount of stress and the amount of planning and unforeseen expenses that you have in the future.